We have the kickoff times for the first three games, and I hope you get your coffee because we got some late ones.
You are Locked On Boston College, your daily podcast on the Boston College Eagles. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, everyone, and welcome. This is Locked On Boston College, your team every day. I am your host, AJ Black of Eagle Insider, part of the 247 Network. I've been covering Boston College for 10 years, and I'm going to bring you the insight, the analysis, and the scoops that you want on Locked On BC, the only daily Boston College podcast. So if you're looking for all that info, you're in the right place. Today's show, we're going to talk about two predictions for this upcoming official visit weekend. I'll tell you who I think may end up verbally committing to BC. The new NCAA trailer is out. I'm going to give you my wish list of things that weren't in last year's game for BC that I hope are in this one. And then we know 3 scheduled times for BC kickoffs. And I'm excited, and I will tell you what those are and why I'm excited about it. So we now know the season starts off with 3 games. You're at home against Fordham on August 30th. You're on the road against Michigan State the week after on September 6th. And the week after that, you're heading all the way over to California, Palo Alto, to play Stanford the week after. So let's look at this. We know now where these games are going to fall on the schedule. And first 3 games, including your FCS, no noon o'clock games. And that's my joke. Don't tell me noon o'clock is not real. I know. But there's no noon games. And I love that specifically for the Fordham game because your game time for Fordham is a 2 o'clock start. Just enough time for anyone out in the mods to get their party on, for you tailgaters to get there. I feel like a 2 o'clock start is the perfect college football start time. You don't have to get up at the butt crack of dawn. You get to campus, and you're not there when the sun goes down. It's just perfect at that time of the year. It's the perfect kickoff. So you can't ask for more. The game will be on ACC Network X. So folks that don't know, if you got a computer, if you got a tablet, if you got a smartphone, and you have cable, you have ACC Network X. It's just on the ESPN app. It's easy to find. Maybe you'll have a Locked On AJ shows you how to get to this because it's not that hard. That's the first game. Then things get interesting, really interesting, because the week after you're heading to Michigan State. You are playing against the Spartans for the second year in a row at night. Remember, last year, BC hosted Michigan State for the Red Bandana game. And if you were there, you can't forget that game if you were in the stands because it was pouring for most of that game. That was the game that Thomas Castellanos hit Lewis Bond with like 1 minute and 50 seconds left. And then Max Tucker made that interception to seal the game. That was incredible. But this game, it's a 7:30 start. Not bad. I love night games. So especially when they're away, that's a fun one. So that is game number 2. And that game is nationally televised. So this will be BC's first big test with either Grayson James or Dylan Lonergan at quarterback on a national scale. It's going to be on one of the big networks. So that's a big deal for BC to get on that. It's not just buried on ESPN2 or ESPNU. NBC. That's a good chance for BC to do that. And I think this would be I've said this before, the Michigan State game to me is the most critical game on the schedule because if you go out there and show where your team has developed into, it really kind of sets the trend moving forward. Because if you can beat a team like Michigan State, you can beat a Syracuse, you can beat a Pitt, maybe you can hold on against Georgia Tech. You see what I'm saying here, right? The final game. This is the game where you need to, and I am going to be guzzling coffee. You knew when you put Cal and Stanford into the ACC, you were going to have night games. It was going to be the corpse of Pac-12 after dark. You remember, all of us have remember the schedule of you watch the primetime game and then boom, right after that, you had like Oregon versus, Oregon State in a 10:30 start. Well, 10:30 start it is as BC plays Stanford and this game will be on the ACC network. 10:30 start is brutal for everybody on the East Coast. If you are living by the Atlantic Ocean, this is tough. For someone like me who has to cover the team, has young kids that are going to wake up at 6 o'clock in the morning, you're going to see a Locked On BC postcast or a show the next day with some bags under my eyes. But you know what? It's okay. It's the fun of college football. It's the craziness of college football that makes this all interesting, right? Like, yeah, it's bizarre, but BC and Stanford, they have a history. They've played each other, and not recently, but they have a history, and schools that aren't that unsimilar in terms of academic. Stanford's a very academic, prestigious school. So is BC. It'll be fun. The best part of that, though, for the BC roster and for us who have to stay up late, I believe the next week is a bye week. So you get to go out to California. That game ain't going to be over till like 1:30 in the morning. And then, it'll be a week to recover from that. So I love that BC has 2 night games. I'm a big fan of weekend night games. I don't like Friday and Thursday. And as we found out this week as well, solidified that BC is not playing a Friday night game this year. That is great news because those games can just be tough. And they kind of die a death. I guess they get you a little bit more publicity, but like, give me what you get with Michigan State. A 7:30 on NBC, that is going to be prime time. And like, you go out there and you make a statement like that against a Big Ten school, people are going to start to notice. So this is just the first 3 games. You have Fordham, you have Michigan State, and you have Stanford. Let's say prediction right now, 3-0 to start the season. Stanford is in a world of hurt right now. They lost David Bailey, their star linebacker. I mean, you look at all the players this team lost. Eric Alamayor. They lost their head coach at the very last minute with Troy Taylor getting fired. They bring in Frank Reich, which is probably the best that they could do for a year. But so many players on that roster entered the transfer portal. That really should be a win. So should Fordham. And I think BC, I do think a better played game, hopefully it won't be raining this time, against Michigan State, I think BC could win that. I do. And if you want to more talk about Michigan State and BC, I did a crossover episode last week with Locked On Spartans. So check that out. It was just a conversation about where the schools are at since last year. So if you want to check that out, that's on YouTube or wherever you get your podcast. Now, in our second segment, NCAA Football from EA Sports is out. I know, not out. It's been, there's a trailer for it. It's not out yet. And there's some things on it that we need to talk about. And I'm going to give you my wish list of things that I want to see in that game as for BC. We'll talk about that in just a moment. The NBA playoffs are in full swing, and FanDuel has got you covered. With momentum shifts, can't miss moments, game-winning shots, and breakout players, there's never been a better time to get in the action. FanDuel makes it so easy to stay in the game before tip-off and live. With player props, performance trends, and same-game parlays, fans have more ways than ever to play smart and win big. Are you thinking about Tyrese Halliburton? Do you think he's going to do really well in the next game against the Knicks or in the finals? Maybe you see a spread with his points per game and you want to hit on that. You can get that on FanDuel. It's so easy to use. You can just cycle through each game, find the points in the bets that you want to make, and boom, you're in. So if you're new to FanDuel, it's the perfect time to sign up. Head to FanDuel.com and place your first $5 bet. If it wins, you'll get $200 in bonus bets. Make every moment more with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. This is Locked On Boston College. I am your host, AJ Black of Eagle Insider, and I want to shout out all of our first listeners. Those of you who, when you see that Locked On BC new episode has dropped on your YouTube or wherever you get your podcast, and you hit that play button right away, you guys are the MVP. You are the Boston College super fans that I want as part of my show. And I want to thank each and every one of you. Now, the new NCAA game is set to release this summer. I don't know the exact date of it yet. I'm sure it's out there. I just didn't see it. But I've been seeing a lot about the new game on Twitter. There's been, different folks posting what the new changes in gameplay are going to be. It looks like you can do the hat ceremonies, which would be fun. They've added Enter Sandman for Virginia Tech. Some of the Road to Glory has changed a little bit. Well, I wanted to see what BC is going to get in this game. So they released the trailer today, and the second year in a row, BC's in the trailer. Last year it was I forget which player it was, but someone was touching Baldwin the Eagle, the statue, and entering Alumni Stadium. I thought that was a cool homage to what BC does. This year is a little less BC centric, but it was the marching band making the BC logo. Slanted ones, ouch, the slanted logo. I wish it was the other one, but that's what they make. And that was the only appearance of BC in that trailer. Now, for BC fans in this game, like everyone, the best part of NCAA is the immersive way that they put each team's traditions and history into it. Like you see the new trophies that they have, and you've got the chief down in FSU planting the spear. You got all of that good stuff, and obviously I said Enter Sandman. Now last year when they did this game, they added some pieces of what makes BC BC. As I said, you saw them patting the eagle. That's obviously part of the entrance to Alumni Stadium. But to me, I got to be honest, there really wasn't a ton of individualization to what makes BC BC. It just felt kind of generic after that. They didn't add any of the music or any of the songs that makes a BC game a BC game. So for me, there's two big music numbers that I really, really hope they've added into it. You need to have, well, actually, we'll say three. You need to have Welcome to the Jungle from Guns N' Roses, which they have. I don't think they added it for BC last year because they do use that a lot for BC. But more so, you need Shipping Up to Boston by the Dropkick Murphys. I don't remember that being in the game at all. And that is such a critical song for BC and kind of the identity of this program, right? Like Dropkick Murphys, hearing that song, everyone knows. I mean, my kids are 6 and 3. And if I played that song, they both know that's the Boston College song because it's a little different than obviously for Boston, but it still relates and connects you to the program. So that would be a big one for me. The other one has to be Mr. Brightside. And I know I'm not going to get into who, used Mr. Brightside first. I know Michigan says it and whatever. BC was right there with them. But you go to a BC football game, and usually it's like halfway through the second quarter. When the students go nuts over that, that is the biggest crowd-pleasing, crowd-engaging moment that BC has the entire game. More than anything else that they play, more than, for Boston, it's that. The entire student section belts that out. If you're going to talk about BC traditions, it wasn't there when I was there, but that's okay. Traditions change. If you did it in the last 10 years, it's still a tradition, right? It is as critical a part of BC fandom, for the students at least, as anything else that goes on right now. So that has to get in there. Like, you can't give me the BC game experience without that. So that is something I'm missing. The third thing that's missing is the fans leaving in the third quarter. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. I'm not going to say that. The other interesting piece, and I don't have an answer to this, so I'm not going to, I'm an insider, but I don't reach out to the school to ask about video games. It's just not something I do, or particularly it's not something important to me. But for this game, a big change that's happening is that they added 300 college coaches. Now, I thought when I first read that meant just head coaches. And I was like, okay, Bill O'Brien will be in this. But I just saw that I think it was Florida State has their defensive coordinator in their head coach in it. So that doesn't mean that. And if you're like me and you played John Madden football for the last 15, 20 years, you remember that even when they add other coaches, Bill Belichick was never in that game. I forget what the reasoning is with it, whether it was the payment or the reunion or whatever. He was never in it. So I'm curious because Bill O'Brien is kind of in that mold if he would be in that game. When we won't know that answer until we see the game. We saw Ryan Day's in it, James Franklin's in it, Kirby Smart's in it. There's a lot of big time coaches, but will Bill O'Brien be in it? And I'm not sure I know the answer to that yet. I can't tell you that. So that's the point of the game. Now, side note here. I was huge, and this might just be my age. I'll admit that. NCAA 2013, 2014, I played that for hours. Even when I was married, my wife would go out with her friends. I'd stay home and play that. Now that I have kids, might do this, work, all that good stuff. I don't have the time to put into these games. Like, I play video games. I just finished Until Dawn, but that was like pick up and put down every 10 minutes I could play. I just couldn't get into the football game last year. I really couldn't. I bought it. I bought a PS5 to play it on, and I ended up playing it for like 2 weeks, put it down, and stopped playing it. I don't know if it was the gameplay. The gameplay I didn't feel like it was all that fun. I was getting bored with the recruitment. I don't know. It just wasn't for me. But maybe if you had more time, you would be more into it. I know Mitch, he played it a little bit more than I did. But we'll have to wait to see. Again, it could be my age. It's my lack of time. I can't do much of anything. If you ask me what TV show I've watched recently, I've had like one in the last year. I am so far behind on movies, but that's the life I chose doing this, covering BC, and doing all that good work. I don't watch the Red Sox anymore. My weight that I carry for doing this is I miss out on stuff, and it's fine. I don't think I'm going to buy this game. I just don't. I don't think I can justify dropping $70 for a game I'm going to play, a handful of times. So if you get it, I want to hear from you, what you think of it, and tell me all about it. And the thing that they added last year that I thought was really cool, and I don't even think I even got to play with it, was they added the red bandana uniforms at one point, I believe. That was a cool addition. Now, in our final segment, we are in official visit week, and I want to give you 2 predictions of players I think BC has a good chance of landing this week, and I'll tell you who they are and why I picked them in just a moment. This is Locked On Boston College, your team every day. I am your host, AJ Black, and when you're done with this episode, check out Locked On College Football with Spencer McLaughlin. He's talking everything going on with college football, with the SEC meetings, with all the news about the playoffs. You're not going to want to miss his thoughts and takes on everything going on. Now, let's wrap things up. As I've been saying all week, this is the first official visit weekend. You're going to have over a dozen recruits coming on campus. This is, for many of them, their first time coming on any campus. Most of these kids have been on BC at BC on some point, but this is their first official visit. So the excitement is high that maybe BC is going to land a commitment or 2 or 3 or 4 this weekend. The class right now is at 13. I expect their class to be around 25. I think it's going to be a full class. What they get this week should kind of dictate how the rest of the weeks look out. So I've talked about many of the recruits. I talked on yesterday's episode about the defensive players and how I'm excited about the haul that's coming in and that there's some really exciting players. Now, I wanted to talk today about predictions. Now, this is the toughest part. Predicting during a official visit season is really tricky because unless you know the kid really, really well, you don't know how how much they're going to go through with all their visits. Sometimes they set up visits and then they just cancel them all when they commit to one school that really catches them. How well an official visit can go, because as I just said, it just takes one for a kid to say, this is it. I got it. I'm going here. So this is tricky because there's a lot of good recruits coming, and there's a lot that I could see committing this weekend. And so when I say that there's 2 that I'm looking at, these are just my best guess. I've talked to many of these recruits. I've talked to, I have my sources that I've talked to. I feel like these 2 might be ones to watch for. So to preface this, there's one on each side of the ball. You have an offensive player and you have a defensive player. So let's kick it off by talking about the offensive player. And this is one I think, especially that they didn't commit last weekend, I think could commit this weekend. And that's Santana Carlos, the wide receiver from Florida. Yes, my player with my favorite name, the guitarist the guitarist name spelled backwards. I think BC could be a good chance to win here. Now, Darryl Wyatt is his main recruiter. Darryl Wyatt does exceptionally well in Florida. This is a place that he recruits, and it hits both pieces for him. A wide receiver in Florida. Sometimes positional coaches will recruit other players for other positions in schools that they know. But this is a wide receiver, so this is a good one for him. Now, Carlos was planned, and I have not seen any updates on it, to go to Purdue the week before. I believe he made that visit. I haven't talked to Carlos to see if that actually happened. But after this, he has Toledo and UCLA. So why do I think that BC could land him? Obviously, Purdue for a wide receiver is a school that always would worry me. We've lost other kids there. It's just it's a Big Ten school. UCLA is a Big Ten school too, but it's all the way across the country. It's a much further flight to go to California. I trust Darryl Wyatt. I think he's an exceptional recruiter, and he gets that position, and he's getting good talent to BC. So I think that as long as Bill O'Brien's message resonates with Santana Carlos, I could easily see him canceling Toledo. I mean, you have Power 4 programs. They're going to pay you a lot more than Toledo. I could see that happening easily. But to me, it's like, will he still take that UCLA visit? And I think I could see him canceling it. It's a gut feeling for this one. I think BC could win this one, and BC would have their third wide receiver. Remember, they have Alex Voss and DJ Biggins, two other wide receivers. They're probably going to look at 3 or 4 here. This would be number 3. Now, on the defensive side of the ball, I said there's a lot of good talent here. I am skeptical that Jaden Williams will commit. That's the linebacker from Ohio. He's got Indiana and Virginia. I bet you he's going to probably take those other visits. That's my gut there. To me, the newest name, Cam Mallory, a defensive tackle, big boy from Alabama, from Moody, Alabama. He is 6'3", 300 pounds. He's got good offers, but it seems like his official visit list is pretty short. So to me, I look at that. I know BC desperately wants good defensive tackles. They're gonna run out of them soon. You need to get some talent in here. He looks like a kind of guy that would fit that bill to a T. So I'm assuming BC's pitch to him will be that we're going to have early playing time for you. You're going to be able to play in a Power 4 conference. We have a good academic school, blah, blah, blah. We've had Alabama kids, Quintavious Hutchins, Ty Clemens. This is not a new thing here. I bet you that pitch will resonate with him. I just get a sense that this is going to be a good one. So I'm going to go with Cam Moody as my second one. He's a new name, but I still think Boston College is in good shape. If you were to ask me, my gut says 3 to 4 recruits this weekend. And I can't even venture to guess who the other 2 could be, but that's just my gut. And that's the best part about this. The other part on Monday's show, we'll talk more about it. We may know names. We may know that there's commitments in the queue. I may not be able to tell you who it is, but we'll have lots to talk about. Thank you all for listening. Follow along with me at AJ Black 247 on Twitter. Go to our show page on YouTube and hit that subscribe button. And follow along on Eagle Insider for all your written work and videos. There's all sorts of great stuff over there. I hope you join me over there. Thank you all, and we'll see you on Monday for another episode of Locked On Boston College, your team every day.